doing it by hand. And what we do is we hog out the majority of the material with the drill press, and then we square everything up with chisels. So, pretty straightforward. How we set it up though, I did reattach that. Still is moving a little bit. I don't love it, but whatever. You're gonna wanna put your large backer board on here for the sake of stability and having a lot to clamp to. And I did give myself a jiggle with a splinter. It's okay. Yeah, come on, baby. All right, so I'm gonna use, of course, a 3/8 inch drill bit. Because I've got, you know, a 3/8 inch mortise. I don't want to work with something smaller. I want to work with something that's exactly the right size. So, use your brad point bit, and of course the 3/8 brad point bit is not in there, naturally, because why would anything be where it's supposed to be? This is not linear. I believe this is 3/8. It's not an amazing bit, but it'll work for our purposes. When I say it's not amazing, what I mean is it's been sharpened before, and so the brad point itself is very, very short.
There we go.
Is the top of the brad point?
Yep, that tiny little center bit there, see that? It'll still work, but you want your brad point to actually lead a little more than this, so, meh, whatevs. It's not the end of the world, it'll still work. So, remember not to clamp too high up on this. If you've got this past the flutes, it's too far. Beautiful. It is spinning about as straight as a bit can spin. Huzzah!
I'm just remembering the wood babies doing it. Someone did it and it was like,
Whittler, 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 whittler. Yeah. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the depth of my cut, right? I want to drill down until it stops at the bottom of the thing. So if this is the thing that I'm working on here, and it's still flat enough that it works for that, even though it's got many a hole in it at this point. I can pull it down till I hit that stopping point there. I can lock it up if I want to, I'm not going to bother. I'll fine tune it once I get to it. All right, I'm going to want to go a little bit deeper. When in doubt, you can overcut by a little bit. Like, if it's just slightly past, that's perfectly fine. All right, so that's real good. So we've got width established, we have depth established. Now we have to get it referenced front to back here. And in order to do that, we set up a fence. So you'll notice this says drill press fence. Aha! We repurposed this from another, thing. And it can go this way if you have enough room. If, like if it's referencing over here and it's not gonna smack something, right? It's important to know. It can also go that way if it's short enough. That's not a half bad thing to do, right? This is short enough that this is probably gonna be the preferred method that I use. The thing that I do have to check for is that this is square, because wood moves, and this is a fairly sizable piece of wood, and therefore it may have moved in a bad way. I also am going to need 2 clamps. I'm going to need to clamp this to the bed on the one side, clamp it to the bed and the the platen itself, the steel base, on the other. Looks like Cole is on his way, which is, awesome when that happens. What I will usually do is I'll clamp one side like permanently, quote unquote. And here's another nice thing too, is it doesn't have to be parallel to the front of this. It has to just, you know, it doesn't have a front or a back. Thank you. It has like a distance off of the thing. So I can position this on the one side in a place where I definitely can clamp. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to reach real hard. It's this to the metal. Yay! And then what I'll do is I can just pivot this a tiny bit, one direction or the other, and that's going to give me my location. And then I'll lock the other side up, right? I may end up using a third clamp, but I'm gonna wait and see. Okay, so I'm gonna start by rotating this so that the brad point itself is something that I can see where it lines up, right? And then I'm gonna bring it down to about here and then lock this arbor so that it shouldn't move. And what I'm gonna be able to do then is see what that alignment looks like. I think it looks pretty good. So I'm going to put this right here for the moment. And I think I am going to grab a third clamp. Actually, Cole, if you could grab one that is one of the really deep ones, that would be great. Because what I'm going to want to do is I want to clamp the bed to the base just to be on the safe side, right? You know what? I changed my mind. I need another little one. Sorry, dude. So that this stays like exactly where it needs to be, right? It is being held over here, but of course, anytime you only clamp in one spot, it can pivot, right? And we know what happens when you pivot. Chandler yells at you to shut up. Such a dork. I'm sorry. It's the dorkiest shit I've said all day. And the day is early, so you never know. Alright. So that's out of the way. So again, when you prep your material, if you don't already have material prepped, it's great to have your cutoffs because you're going to be able to test to make sure that you're actually centered by. I'm going to just flip this guy over. By drilling a hole, a tiny little shallow hole in one direction, flipping it again, and then drilling a tiny shallow hole in this direction. And just based on what I'm seeing here, I'm off by a tiny bit. I haven't obviously turned it on and drilled anything, but without that bit moving, I can see that these two are not in line with one another by the smallest amount. But you know, this is, again, we spend a million years getting everything set up. And then, once we have everything set up, then you cut everything, right? So that is why it is a pain in the tuchus. But I want to see, based on this one, okay, it's that one, meaning it has to go this way. So I'm moving this end, what seems like a lot, but it's barely shifting anything up here because, you know, it's exaggerated the farther away it goes. So this, yeah, it's gonna take time. It's stupid, but once you get it right, there we go. Would one of you guys grab my combo square, by the way? Doesn't matter who. Thank you, Cole.
I need to get a tripod.
You know, John has one.
I didn't think about that, like him having one. I knew he had one for a photo.
I have an extra one that I can just bring in here and you can use for this.
Ooh, now it's getting close. Now it's getting real close.
Sorry, Lydia.
Thank you, friend. If you take a look, see these two are where I'm at now. And they're just barely offset from one another. But it matters. So I'm gonna continue to make this adjustment until I can get it as perfect as I can. So that amount that I moved it before was a pretty decent amount. I'm just gonna, if you need to, you can make marks to kind of like indicate where you started so you can tell how much you've moved something. Ye oldie baby taps. The fuck? That's off now from where it was. Like it's worse. How is that possible? I moved it in the right direction. Come on. Let's see. I'm so annoyed. I'm so annoyed. It was better before. I will tell you one thing I'm gonna do though, which I said that I needed to do, and that's I'm gonna check it for square. This is a thing, gorgeous. It looks like it's off by maybe 1/4 of a degree, but because it's so short, it's not gonna matter. I will just make sure that I'm keeping my pressure towards the bottom instead of towards the top. If this is way off for whatever reason, you can rejoin this edge. It's solid wood, there's no metal in it, you know. Rejoin it, make sure it's 90 degrees, and then, you know, et viol, voila. All right, let's try this again, Sarah Martin. Let's see how far off I am based on one of these.
While you're drilling, can I vacuum?
Yes,
I don't want to do it while you're talking.
once I get there, absolutely.
Okay.
So coming back over to my reference side just to start things out. This is why this demo takes so long, incidentally. Seriously, it's all the setup. If I can see it though.
I can wake up and get something to drink.
She was asking if I want coffee later.
All right. Come on, cooperate, baby. Have I not complimented you in a long time? You're such a great drill press.
It feels left out.
Yeah, that's true. I don't talk to it often enough.
I always see you with the sauce doll.
And
Gross.